everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Chit-Chat English Podcast. Today I'm super stoked because, guess what? I've got two very cool guys and guests, by the way, Saidjan and also Farshad. So before we get a start, I would like them to just have a quick and laconic introduction about themselves, and after that we get into our topic.
Hey. Hi guys, this is Said. I'm a BA graduate of English translation and MA graduate of English teaching. That's all.
Thank you so much for joining us.
And my name is Amir Farshad Shirzai, and I got graduated from the university here in Sistan and Balochistan in English literature, and I'm going to pursue my education in MA for English literature as well.
Oh, thank you so much, guys, for accepting my invitation. By the way, it's a great honor and privilege to be in your companionship, by the way. So before we get to our topic, I would like to give a kind of insight to our followers about the topic that we're going to talk about, which is a kind of a nightmare for most English learners.
A mystery, actually. It is a mystery.
Exactly, could be. And most of them are like, they just consider it as a kind of quixotic plan and kind of a pipe dream that they will never may achieve it. And they're just, in spite of studying very hard and hard working, and they reach actually and they achieve no result for a long time, for many years. And this could be a kind of huge obstacle for most English learners.
Which is fluency.
Which is fluency, exactly. Yes, we're going to talk about fluency, and we're going to dig in what cause and what somehow we talk about what obstacles hinder students in order to impel to go through this actually very important skill, by the way. So we're going to actually dive into the first question, which is about fluency. We're going to define it. It's very important to define the fluency, and in both scientific way and also in other casual or the way informal way. And what's your 2 cents about fluency, guys? How do you define it?
Talking academically, there are 2 senses of fluency. First, we have the overall proficiency of a person who is learning a foreign language, which includes the 4 main skills of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. But the popular belief, when we're talking the fluency, what pops up in somebody's mind is actually the oral fluency. So the oral fluency is to talk expressively, smoothly, in a flowing way without much hesitation and stops, with the correct and appropriate intonation, rhythm, pronunciation, and everything. That's basically the basic premise behind the fluency.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. So when we're talking about fluency, we're actually considering the flow of the rhythm and the talking. When you're conversing with someone, and if you do it in a very proficient and efficient way without any hesitation or any pause, or that you do it in a way that makes them feel like you're being natural in a sense, and you're not doing a lot of thinking, and there's no translation process in the middle of it, or at least it is there, but it's so quick that you're just not going to notice any pause or hesitation in between. So yeah, I would consider that fluency as well. But there are other factors definitely to it, but I think going along with that definition makes the best sense.
Mm-hmm. So talking without hesitation.
And without, just as Farshad mentioned, without any translation, or at least with the minimum amount of translation. Because, when you're fluent enough, when you're efficient enough in English, your brain is somehow worked out to render thought in English primarily, instead of your mother tongue. For example, you have the thought, okay, that thought needs to be rendered, needs to be somehow materialized in form of speech. And your brain functions and your brain gets that form of English. English comes first, okay, when you're talking or when you're trying to express something. And then, just as Farshad mentioned, there's just very little amount of translation involved.
So what about the speed? Does it include to
well,
be
yeah.
fluent or not?
If you're gonna talk in a fluent way, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're speedy, because being speedy doesn't contribute anything to being fluent. It's just your own preference or the way that you talk personally. But I would have to say that there is a certain flow of English speech that you're gonna have to at least talk at that level if you're going to be considered fluent. Well, it doesn't mean that you need to go like, everyone, what are you doing? This is a very good. No, that doesn't mean you're fluent. But being fluent means that you're talking again without that pause or that hesitation, or you're at least familiar with all of the language items that you're going to face, because that's the thing. You don't want to have the process of translation in between, because if that occurs, you're gonna pause and be like, okay, what was that word that I read that other day that I'm going to use right now? Or what does this mean in English? No, that process needs to be eliminated. And how do you eliminate it? I think the best way is to become at least familiar with all of the language or linguistic items that you're going to face when when you're engaging in a conversation with someone. So when someone's talking to you, you need to understand whatever that person is meaning, right? Whatever that person's intention of meaning is being projected at you, without any in the context, of course, without any hesitation or pause, right? So that's the thing.
And in case of conveying your message, so it happens, for example, there are some, by the way, speakers, they talk, but they are not very good at conveying their message. It's you know, the listener, they're not actually, they get confused or they misunderstand, by the way, because the speaker is not able to convey his or her message in a clear and correct way.
Yes,
it also
that is another matter. But in light of what Farshad said and what you just brought up as speed, there's a norm actually for each language, okay? But there's also another factor that some people in their own language, they talk fast, okay? They just talk fast, okay? That's normal for them. But some people, you see that normally and naturally they're more reserved and they're more low profile. They speak in a less speedy way. It doesn't, as Farshad said, necessarily mean that when you're talking rapidly, it means that you're fluent. No, it could be up to a certain point, but then if you're talking expressively and if you're talking in a way that that is understandable to your audience, and there is a natural flow and melody to your speech, that means yes, you're fluent. Okay, but you said that some people they speak and the listener gets confused. Or well, there may be lots of reasons for that.
So we can somehow add it to fluency factors, that if he or she is not able to convey his or her message, so she's not fluent.
I don't think that's what occurs when we're talking about that. So it doesn't mean that you're not fluent. It means that there's a paucity of vocabulary proficiency right there, because when you're trying to convey something that you have in mind and your intention is to allow the listener to understand what you're saying, that you could say that in a very good way but not be fluent. Or you could say that in a terrible way, but be fluent. It doesn't mean that, okay, so fluency is oral only, right? When we're talking in this context right now that we're talking, okay, there's fluency in other aspects of language as well. But right here, when we're talking about fluency, we mean that you talk in a good flow without any pause or having to hesitate, okay? That's it.
That's it.
If you are conveying what you mean,
it doesn't relate to the meaning part.
no, it's if there's
To that part.
inconsistency, if there's inconsistency in your meaning, right,
Sure.
or in the way that you convey what you want to say, that's on you. But that isn't related to fluency, in my opinion, at least.
What's your idea in this case?
Well, there may be lots of other factors. For example, you're fluent enough, okay? You speak in a natural way, but you do not, you're not efficient person in using certain vocabulary, for example, in different contexts. For example, you use synonyms, okay? Synonyms are not always synonymous. Words are
You're
not
right,
always
yes.
synonymous, yes. And you may be out of the context. You're speedy enough, but you're out of the context. You're not in the field to express yourself. You're using the wrong words. You may be grammatically incorrect, or you're just talking. I don't know.
Nonsensical.
Nonsense.
Hey, you're talking. You could talk nonsense all you want.
yeah.
I could talk nonsense for 17 hours and be fluent at it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a good speaker. See, that's where we distinguish the thing between, accuracy and fluency.
Got it.
That's
So we can add that part. The way the ability to convey your message to accuracy part.
right.
Expressively, I think it would be a more correct term.
Correct term.
Yeah, well, apart from accuracy, yes,
Good.
being expressiveness is also an important factor when we're talking with fluency.
Good. And let's just talk about the factors of being fluent. What are the factors of being fluent? What are the factors of fluency? Can we just talk about some?
Well, there are
factors
lots of reasons and factors behind having a good fluency. The main one is affective domain, actually, which involves your emotions. Obviously, when you're shy, when you're by nature a shy person, you cannot be fluent. Okay, in an unfamiliar environment, or if you're feeling negative, or if you're not confident enough, okay, you cannot talk in a fluent way. So I think the first thing that comes to my mind to be a fluent speaker is to be able to handle different situations emotionally, with confidence, with power. The
Right.
first one. Yes.
So yeah, I think those are good points right there. So what do you need to do in order to be fluent, right? What contributes? What factors do we have? Well, first of all, you need to have a very good grasp of the language that you're going to use. You need to know the ins and outs of it. And aside from that, you need to speak. Yeah, that's the key term there. You need to speak. What does that mean? Well, it sounds simple enough, right? You need to speak in order to be fluent. Everyone knows that. But do people actually do that? Not a lot of times. So what the thing is, most learners confine themselves to classroom activities. They don't engage in anything outside of the classroom. What needs to happen here is that you need to engage in every opportunity that knocks on your door, right? Because imagine there's a discussion class. You go to the discussion session and you're just sitting there observing, right? A listener, a mere listener. You're nothing more. That doesn't help you in being fluent. Speaking helps you in being fluent. Because when you speak, you understand the way that you're using language. Because sometimes there's this instance that in your mind you have a very good idea of what you're going to say, but when you're actually saying it and putting it out there, it's a messed up version of it.
Exactly.
What happens there? I think the thing that happens there is because you don't have the proper verbal facilities to utter these speeches that you want to do, because there hasn't been a good link or connection between your brain and your tongue, right? So now when you're talking, you can't translate your ideas into speech. That's a little difficult for you because you haven't done it before. I think that's one of the first keys and steps to doing whatever needs to be done in order to be fluent.
Just talk.
Yeah, you just need to talk.
Yes.
Expose yourself, surround yourself the speakers.
Yeah.
Not the speakers, but talking as well.
Talking as well.
Engaging yourself in
Listen,
discussion.
when you're talking and then you go home and you reflect on your own conversations, you're going to understand that it'll say, well, I could have used that other expression that I learned the other day there, but I didn't. Why didn't I do that? Is my memory bad? No, probably not. It's because you haven't gotten familiar with that expression as of yet. And you need to practice that. You need to even talk to your own self, right? Record your voice. Do that, yeah. And when you repeat it and when you listen to it again from an outside perspective, right? Now you're third person listening to your own voice. What happens then is you can criticize yourself. And when you criticize yourself properly, you can, that leads up to,
Definitely.
I think, massive improvements in your...
And as Farshad mentioned, there's the power of imagination, you know, that really works. I've personally actually experienced that. Vision, I'm talking about the vision, as Farshad said. So in your mind, you have, oh, there's someone else. He's talking in a very fluent, accurate way, but in reality, it's something different.
Reality is different.
It's something really different. You know, in order to actually to have that, to just to put it in reality, I mean that imaginary situation, you need to practice. You know, to just in both in your mind and in reality, as you said. So recording yourself and just talking in the mirror and just talking with yourself. It could do the trick.
Yes, but